Hello, friends. I'm Kush Khandelwal, and this is Ageless Athlete. A few years ago, I started asking questions that would not leave me alone. Why do some people keep pushing mentally, physically, spiritually long after others burn out or break down? What does it really mean to age well when you still crave movement, meaning, and mastery? This show is my search for answers. Each week, I talk to elite athletes, everyday adventurers, and pioneering researchers who are stretching the limits of what's possible across age, injury, illness, and self doubt. You will hear hard won lessons, untold stories, and science backed strategies for building a body and mindset that lasts. For those of us joining for the first time, welcome to the show. For the rest, thank you for joining us again. Time is our most valuable asset, and I deeply appreciate you giving me your time today.
In a remote Tanzanian village, a grandmother hunches over a pile of stones, breaking rocks with her bare hands to feed her grandchildren. There is no doctor, no dentist, no school until Loree Bolin shows up. At 60, Loree could have retired. She was a successful dentist, a mom, and a lifelong athlete. But instead, she sold her practice and built something radical, a nonprofit that brings mobile medical and dental care to underserved communities, even nomadic tribes by camel. She started a school. She launched a business program for widows. She created safe houses for girls fleeing forced marriage and female genital mutilation. And somehow, while doing all this, she also reversed her knee osteoarthritis. And at 70, she completed her 11th Ironman. This episode is about aging with intention and using your later decades not to shrink, but to expand. You will hear how Loree rebuilt her knees through strength, reclaimed her body through sport, and used endurance not just for racing, but to carry hope across borders. Whether you are 40 or 70, wondering what's next, this story will move you. It certainly moved me. Loree reminds us it's never too late to serve, to rebuild, or to start something that matters.
Where I am right now is Edmonds, Washington, in Pacific Northwest, and I'm seated at my desk. And for breakfast, I had a lactose-free cappuccino and some walnut sourdough toast with peanut butter. Lots of peanut butter, crunchy.
Your breakfast sounds very gourmet. It is still early in Seattle and sounds like you are a morning person. And I can see that it's bright and sunny.
Well,
Seattle
it's
summers
bright.
are great.
Seattle summers are great. Today is a little bit overcast, a little bit rainy today. However, it's going to perk up for my long rides and runs on the weekend. So that's the point.
Beautiful. Did you already get some dose of cloudy sunshine this morning?
I went out for a short walk this morning,
Okay.
just to kind of
Okay.
set my head and get started for the day.
Beautiful. Well, Loree, you have got this fascinating blend of life. You are a high endurance athlete. You are doing humanitarian work. You are also a professional in the medical field. I want to start off with the work you're doing because I'm just fascinated. It's not something you see every day from a triathlete.
Yeah.
I guess you likely already had this busy life doing all the other things that you were doing, but you chose to take on this big challenge. How did that happen? How did you get
Well,
started?
Yeah, I'm a dentist, and I had private practice for 25 years. And through that, I had always wanted to do humanitarian work and provide healthcare abroad, and got the opportunity to do that probably beginning a long time ago now, maybe 2007, and fell in love with it. And working in the Philippines after a hurricane, providing dental care, and working at some feeding stations. And during that time, I just committed myself that what I really felt this huge passion to do was to jump that direction in my life, to go from private practice to be able to engage more fully in the humanitarian side of healthcare delivery, because the needs you see are so basic. Just, just the need for water, for example, is so basic. And while I'm trained as a dental practitioner, I have a lot of interests in many areas of science and medicine, and I could see ways that my curiosity and interest could help open some doors for many people. So I decided that when my son graduated from high school, starting college, when I had more time that I didn't need to be at home, that I would go into the humanitarian world. And so I sold my private practice and started leading health delivery teams for another nonprofit, not mine. I hadn't started mine yet, but I had gone to Honduras, to an orphanage, to Haiti. I led a large team there after the earthquake, which was a kind of really a life-changing experience for me in terms of the multitude of things that you can provide with volunteers that have and do not have medical backgrounds. Kind of people go to the idea of Doctors Without Borders, which is, physicians only. And there are many skills that most of us have that can offer a helping hand, and you can provide these skills and really engage with other families, communities, just helping build infrastructure. So I did that for a number of years. And then for my 60th birthday, I'm now 70, for my 60th birthday, I decided birthday present to self is in order. And so my birthday present to self was to initiate an all-volunteer nonprofit that was based on healthcare, perfectly blended with education. Because while I'd been in Haiti, Honduras, Uganda, Tanzania, those countries at that time providing healthcare, the basic problems that people had were about the same. And if they would have had an ounce of prevention, as we say here, these things would not be happening. And so to be able to blend education and prevention with the healthcare was the point of the whole process for me for my birthday. So I started Health and Hope Foundation. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit. We're 10 years old and a bit now, and we provide care principally in Tanzania. Through my previous work, I had been there maybe 6 or 7 times, and I developed real strong in-country relationships with local leaders that could be facilitators, so that I didn't need to live in Tanzania, but I work from here. And we have a large base of very passionate volunteers from high school through their 80s that are volunteering with us now. We're not a large group. We're not a big, huge, nonprofit. We're 97%, 96% of our donations go to programs. And so that's really what I do now, that I balance with my athletic life. I probably work more now than I did when I was in private practice, to tell you the truth. But we have generally take a healthcare team to a country or two annually. So lately we've been to Tanzania. We always go there once a year. And we went once, fascinating trip, to care for the nomads in Western Mongolia. So that was by camel and horseback. We travel, it's all out of a box. We're mobile. We can take our 31-gallon Rubbermaid containers anywhere and pop up a clinic in 4 hours. We can have medical, dental, vision, And then we do cervical cancer screening, because in the areas we're going, they don't have HPV vaccine or gynecological care. So we provide those 4 services, and a lot of nutritionally based information and safe water treatment options. So that's what I do in my career life now. But
Yeah,
it's a lovely work.
that is so badass, Loree.
It's super
And
fun.
yeah, let's see. You started this maybe 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
well, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary of
Yeah. Thank you.
running
Thank you.
this beautiful mission. The part that just immediately hits me is most people start new ventures when they are, let's say, peaking with their careers earlier in their lives, especially
Yeah.
something that is different and difficult. And you started this at an age where most people are contemplating retirement, people are looking at their savings, people have, maybe in your case, yes, you had sent your son off, I think.
Yeah.
And I think most of us at that age are, I don't know, buying vacation packages, taking on cruises. And here you take on this huge challenge. And like you indicated, this was something that was building up over time. You had planned for
Mm.
this. Was there an early seed? Was there some point where you realized that you could do so much more with your knowledge and skills and awareness, and the world outside could really use your services? So I'm curious, was there a point where you had this, if there was one, like an epiphany of sorts, that this is what you wanted to devote your
Yeah, I think, my first realization that I was on the right track. I was intrigued by this. Had been in a professional study club, and one of the dentists was a mentor of mine. I was younger than the rest of the guys, and they were all guys, and they kind of, welcomed me into their community as a newly practicing dentist. And this is in 1984. One of them was very entrenched in work in Haiti, and went there often. And I was heard his stories, and I just thought, oh, that is so awesome. I mean, I love technology, but I love doing things with my head and my heart and my hands more. And so that felt like, not the people who are in the techno camp or the other camp, but I'm definitely in the heads, heart, and hands camp. I could I wanted to do that so badly. So when I got my first chance to do it, I was coming back on the bus from our workstation, and we were when there was a flooding and hurricane in Manila, and the walking through from our clinic was set up in like a rec center outside, and we are seeing all different kinds of things. People were coming for dental care, but we were doing a lot of other things as well. I mean, they were coming for everything, and they were living there. This is where they were just kind of had their family mats down, and they were, their charcoal, and they're making their food and everything. And so you got to see people and be with people. And I thought, that's what I was just to peel it all back. And when I was going home the first day, I just got teary-eyed thinking, this is what I'm passionate about. This is how I can actually use the skills I have. And, we didn't have electricity. There's a lot of things that you don't have, but you can still do a lot of care without a lot of whistles and bells. And in dentistry, there's a lots of whistles and bells. You go into the dental office now, the chair reclines by remote. You've got overhead, everything's laser oriented and digital, and just take it all away, and then see what you can come up with. What can you MacGyver to make this happen, and to provide health and wellness for this community. And that's when I knew that. I think that was my moment when I said, yeah, You nailed it, Loree. This is where this is what you can do. Then it just kept rolling from that point. And as we go into it deeper, being with communities, you see doors open and you talk with people heart to heart and you live with them. Our teams now come in and we have, by the time I get a team bus together to take the team out to wherever we're going, because we usually stay. Well, I used to back in the old days. My max for lodging was $12 a night. That included breakfast, and I came to find out that not everybody can just keep going forever and ever and ever. I mean, I think endurance sport has helped me go forever and ever and ever. When I think I'm blown, I find I've got another gear. Now we have comfortable sleeping places for the team, and they get rest, because the people that do this work don't know how to stop, basically, and they'll keep working till they're tired, till they're exhausted, and then they're less fun. So we do have a team bus, and we get in the bus and we go however far, no more than an hour, because it takes up too long in the day, because where we work there isn't electricity, so you've got to get back by nightfall because there aren't lights on the roads and so forth. So just for safety for the team. But it's just grown to other dimensions, that you're living and on the team bus, but there's more in-country people on the bus than visitors on the bus. So you get to know people, you work with them side by side, we integrate. There's no hierarchy. There's no like doctors are more important than anybody else. It's everybody's even playing field, and everybody brings it to the table. In that way, it opens conversations. So like I was just there, June, I spent in Tanzania, new doors open. So in June, we're starting in Tanzania, we work with Maasai there, and another group that's not Maasai. We're starting a safe house for girls that are fleeing early arranged marriage and female genital mutilation, and scholarship programs for the Maasai girls. So that's a whole other area that we've started. So the programs, as you get to work in communities, just keep opening and opening and opening, listening to community needs, and doing even minor things. I mean, for us to build a safe house is going to end up being, in US dollars, about $7,000 to build a safe house that girls can go to when they're fleeing early marriage and cutting. And it's essential. The 10 girls we scholarshiped for this year, when I met with them, a month and a half ago, 50% of them had they just finished 7th grade equivalent, and they've already had female genital mutilation against their wishes. So, you keep meeting people, and it just keeps adding to the fuel to the fire of, you can change this. Girls don't have to accept that kind of thing, and community members and families don't have to accept that there are no dentists. There might be, like in Tanzania, one dentist for every 150,000 people. It's not great odds for preventative care or anything else. So it just keeps moving. Moving
Sure,
target.
amazing. Yeah, amazing. I mean, yeah, no, for sure. I'm still wrapping my head around like the scope of the work that has come your way and you have taken on. Trying to learn about you a little bit more. Many professionals in the West, or some of us, will sometimes take these trips. I guess it first starts with just being curious about the world outside our own countries and learning about what are some of the challenges that people have that maybe we don't have. And some of us will donate some money to, the UNICEFs and the Doctors Without Borders and similar. And then within that group, there's a smaller set which might undertake a personal mission to one of these places. I mean, I'll be honest, Americans in general are so scared of traveling overseas. Most of us don't even have passports. Those of us who travel usually stay within the bounds of the developed world.
Right.
And yes, and then a few will take on trips to other parts of the world. And yes, and some of us will go and take on causes, missions where they can use their professional skills to help. Because yes, absolutely, the impact is so much deeper. Like what you said, one dentist for 150,000 people. I mean, that just boggles the mind. Like sometimes,
Mhm.
we complain that we can't get to see our dentist soon enough or whatnot, and we have to wait a few weeks. And people there may never see one, even if they
No,
have the
no.
most urgent needs. But just coming back to you, you went on some trips while you were still a full-time dentist, and you saw an opportunity. And my question is, you could still be making this big difference by continuing to assist other groups.
Mhm.
What was this about you that made you want to start something on your own? What made you think that the scale and the impact that you could make would be just more profound? And
Um,
knowing the just knowing the effort it likely takes and like exponentially to start something on your own.
Friends, it means a lot that you're here. I pour a ton of heart into the show. The research, the interviews, the editing, it's all me, trying to share stories that matter. If Ageless Athlete has ever made you feel seen, inspired you, or just kept you company on a long drive, or better, over a run or a bike ride, I would be so grateful if you considered supporting it. Even a small amount helps keep it going, helps keep bringing the show to you for free. You can chip in at buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. Again, buymeacoffee.com/agelessathlete. You can find the link on the show notes as well. Thank you for listening and for being part of this.
when I started branching out from dentistry to go into other areas of humanitarian care, it, there was actually a moment that came over probably about 2 days' time. I was in Tanzania and I was i- providing care in a community. And what typically happens is all of the young men rush to the front of the line, and the women and the children are behind. I mean, there's big long lines of people that will come for care, and that I had observed far earlier. I said to our team, who haven't we seen? And they said, we've seen everybody. I go, no. Have you seen any kids? I haven't seen any kids. Have you seen any older ladies? Have you seen any older people? I haven't. I haven't. And I said, this is switching. This is switching now. And so I went out with my tongue depressors and I did a triage with my tongue depressors and but look to see, and mostly what I was looking to see is the elderly, the people that that physically looked ill, and children. And they all ended up with a lollipop stick. So that's how I started the priority care and to getting them that way. And in doing that, it was actually, looking back on it, so perfect, because what I ended up finding was, even though people were prioritized, I had not seen the older ladies. I had not, and I knew they were there because I walked by them all the time, coming in and out. I would see them. My interpreter is a pastor. He's now the head of we've got a free tutor school for 200 kids, and he is the principal leader of that school. That's his job now, but it came from this moment. I said, where are all the older ladies? I mean, where are the widows that you were telling me about? And he said, they're waiting over there. They're waiting their turn. I said, they don't need to wait. Come on, bring them in. And so they came in, and of course, all of them, it wasn't their teeth that were bothering them. They had private I mean, it was their body that was bothering them. So my son was with me on that trip, and they set up a special room and put a chair in there. And I just started doing physical full body exams on the ladies. Typically, all the complaints were they're orthopedically related, and also eyes that were sore and red and dusty, hands that were just could not grip anymore, their aches and pains and everything. And I found out all these ladies were making a living crashing rocks to make gravel. They were crashing rocks by hand. And that's what they're doing for their livelihood. These are grandmothers, widowed grandmothers. It's just like, oh my gosh, it was one after the other after the other. And I'm going, this is, does anything hurt in your mouth? Nothing in their mouth. They were fine. It was everything else. It got to kind of the bottom of that because they all speak Swahili. I spoke non-Swahili at that time, and I'm still very poor Swahili. I'm a better listener than speaker. But I thought there's got to be a better way for them to make a living in this way. And it was almost to the end of our trip. So I left them our safety goggles. I left them our surgical masks. And I went to the hardware store and I got a whole bunch of hammers and a couple big sledgehammers. Part of the group, I said, it was two groups, actually. They were two groups of sort of friends because they get together and they crash like women would get together and knit or something like that as a social thing. So there was two groups. I said to one group, I suggest you, cross cover each other. So malaria is very endemic in this area. Kids were sick a lot, and other, waterborne diseases as well. But, cross cover and work together as a group. And the other group didn't want to. They just wanted some money. So I said, okay, I'll come back in a year and we'll see what happened. And what happened was it was just like the perfect financial seminar. The ones that worked together and provided cross coverage and learned to, now they know what a diversified portfolio is, meaning this group has farming, vegetables, farming pigs, poultry, fish sales, dried fish sales. We've started solar fish drying, all these different things. One of those ladies had built a house. She built a house because she was doing other things. The other ladies, they got the money. They got like $20 a piece or something because I left them each with the equal amount of money. Nothing. And so that's how this was born. So that's how we got to the women's business program. Now we've probably got 80 women in that, 80 to 85 women in that area that are in business, and another 30 women Maasai women that just started businesses recently that are sound. And then in going to the ladies' houses to do welfare checks at home, I went to visit them to see, what's up, where are they living, what's going on, how can we, learn some PT, some yoga, some dancing, some whatever to relieve some of their chief physical complaints. None of the kids were in school. The kids were of school-age kids. No one is in school because they had to have a uniform to go to government school. Nobody could afford a uniform. So that was the inception of our Tumaini, which means hope in Swahili, Tumaini Tutor School. So that's open now 6 days a week, every week of the year. And we have about 200 orphaned, impoverished kids that have been attending all this time, and they go from first grade through equivalent to 10th grade. So that's started with those women's grandchildren because they were guardians for these kids. So that's how the school started. And it just keeps growing.
Wow. Got it. So what I can understand is that you took on this assignment. You were in Tanzania and you were trying to fix maybe some basic dental issues that people had. And maybe your innate curiosity and just awareness around you forced you to notice some imbalances in
Yes.
your clientele.
Yes,
and
quite a few.
and then you kind of just had to go through that wormhole, and you started discovering all these other things. And it sounds like you just couldn't help yourself. Like once you meet these populations and you see some of their most like dire challenges, can often have difficult but maybe even simple solutions. Like in this case, enabling these older grandmothers who were crushing rocks by just giving them just basic safety equipment
Yeah.
would have such a huge impact on allowing them to not only do their their current work a bit more safely, but then slowly maybe rise up the ranks with some more assistance. Like the amount of assistance can indeed just go such a long way in those places. One thing that strikes me, Loree, is that sometimes some of these issues, in these countries, they can seem so complex. And like in your case, you go from like just helping people with dental hygiene to now starting something to help people help grandmas build like livelihoods and kids going to schools. These problems just seem so daunting. And I sense that many of us don't even get started just because I remember reading Paul Krugman like talking about Sudan. Like it just seems like this bottomless pit of despair. But you seem just such an like how do you get your optimism, and how are you able to like actually find that mindset to go and come up with solutions and implement them instead of just feeling overwhelmed?
I have to say running. I take my thoughts and my questions and my issues on the road with me. I think most of my planning, or as my husband calls it, my devious, terribly ridiculous, amazing planning, I just kind of sort it out. And sometimes when I'm running, well, most of the times when I'm running, I think about that kind of thing, and I come up with ideas that they sound always so brilliant when I'm running. Then when I bring them back home, sometimes I have to pare them down a little bit because must have been some kind of brilliant mood at that moment. And then when I look at the logistics, I said, okay, this can work, but okay, to get buy-in, you're really going to have to peel it back just a little bit and start small, and then you can get there. So I'd have to say that's how sport is really integrated with the work. It's my thoughtful place.
Hello, friends. Just a quick break. This is not an ad. If you have been enjoying these conversations, I would love for you to subscribe to my newsletter. It is where I go deeper, sharing stories, reflections, and behind the scenes insights that don't always make it into the podcast. I write about what I'm learning from elite athletes and how to stay ageless in body and mind. If you have ever wanted a thoughtful, inspiring read that ties it all together, training, aging, mindset, and awe, you will love this. You can find the link in the show notes or just head to agelessathlete.co. Again, www.agelessathlete.co, that is, to sign up. And yeah, just a couple of emails a month, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Absolutely no spam ever. Okay, back to the show.
I just love that answer. And, sport can benefit us in so many ways. Like this has to be one of the most unusual, but also one of the deepest in yes, allowing us to be able to maybe train our thoughts during intense physical exercise. I would love to learn a little bit more about some of your thought process. Just so people listening have an idea, can you talk a bit about what is the scope of work that Health and Hope taking on today? Which places are you operational in? What kind of change are you making?
Place that we're well, the world is a big place, and like you pointed out, you can only do so much because you look at the whole piece, it is overwhelming. And so, because I'd worked in many countries across the planet, I settled on Tanzania. And the reason that I settled on that one country is because I've got the in-country support there that I know and trust. And a big part of trust in being able to do these programs is you've got to trust financially that you have 100% excellent stewardship of each donated nickel that it's going to programs. Because one of the things that you also see, not just abroad at home and abroad, but graft, and it's really easy in a large organization to have filter down and lose money, whether it's a government or whether it's large entity. Wanted to protect it against graft. And so I work with people that I know really well, that I communicate with often, whose homes that I live with, who I've known for years. And so that makes that piece possible to do that. So that's how I've come to a country and to communities. So we're working in Mwanza, Tanzania, where we have Tumaini Tutor School. We've got a women's business empowerment program going on there. Those are the two big pieces. And then we go there also, take healthcare teams to that area. The other place that we work is in with the Maasai population that live on the rim of the Ngorongoro crater. We've been working there since 2015. We were the first group to bring dental care there. And you mentioned cleanings, but I guess I'd like to point out that probably 95% of what we do is extractions, because by the time they get there, the people that we're seeing are in serious situations. I mean, they're non-restorable teeth, chronic infections that can be life-threatening from dental disease. So they have never had their teeth cleaned. I mean, we do that, and we do it for the kids. We do cleanings and fluoride and all that. We're instituting that program, but that's not something that they would normally have. So in the Maasai population, what we're working on there is healthcare delivery, because they have very, very poor access. The government's been trying to relocate that endemic population out of the crater. So they've had a lot of governmental issues and dispensaries that have absolutely nothing in them, and very limited number of healthcare providers there. So delivery of healthcare, but also education. So when we're not there, we've got a team that goes out and provides community health education, where they're teaching about HIV prevention. The AIDS rate there is like 9% and growing. And they do information about family planning, because they have none. So about female cutting and any number of things that the community asks for. Those are the two populations. So we've taken the world, the big problems, and we've narrowed it down to one area that's a little bit more county, if you want to think of it that way. They don't live in a hut. They live in, single room, cement home, but they're going to school and they're getting business opportunity. And we're trying to grow circles of changes, build a circle of prosperity from one of poverty. That's the goal. And then in the Maasai population, same country, but different part of the country, we're working on basic health education needs and education and safety against harmful traditional practices. So we've taken the world and we've pared it down to 2 spots. And even that seems big. I mean, it's broad-based. If that answers your question, I mean, you have to kind of put your finger in the soup and pick out the noodle that you want and address that noodle as best you can.
I can imagine once you are exposed to these places and the complexities, and yes, those complexities start unraveling, you realize that there's so much that needs to be done. How do you manage scope creep? How do you decide, like, Like, sounds like you have a good handle on like the populations you work with
Mm.
and the type of issues that you are working on. How do you decide what to say yes to and what to say no to?
The basic bottom line on that is what can create a sustainable change. If it's not going to be a sustainable change, then we need to back away. We don't do, have done, and no longer do, but provide food, large quantities of food. But what we do switch to was providing goats and sheep, because that can be sustainable. It provides milk for the children. It provides opportunities for, it's a women's business, for them to exchange animals for breeding purposes, to grow their herd. They can sell, and then they can buy food. So in that way, the part of the nutrition program becomes sustainable. Education is always sustainable, even if you think, okay, you've only got one school, you've only got 200 children, but it's the ripple effect of that education. It goes both up and it goes down, because the parents aren't literate, or the guardian is not literate. But even if all kids in the family can't be at Tumaini, because we need to turn away a lot of kids every year. Even if all kids can't go there, even if one or maybe two can go there with the family, they're teaching their sibs, and they're teaching the people in their area, because they kind of live rather clustered. So people are learning and seeing education. But scope creep is a real problem, because I'm attracted to, almost any little butterfly, and I have a board, and they kind of help me stay on track with my schemes that come up running. Not all the schemes I've come up running are put into play. I have a lot of schemes on the back burner. I think in keeping with two populations, that does, because we're making big impacts in those groups, at least, to help.
And no, that was very helpful. And I can see that you are strategic about finding opportunities that can help scale the impact. And education is, of course, a big one. You educate one person, and that can have such a lasting impact on them and other generations that follow them. And the other part, yes, sorry, but cliche, but yeah, I mean, teach a person to fish. Like, if you allow people access to create a livelihood instead of just giving out money, then that can allow people to, again, sustain that for a long time. And I can see that it is difficult to say no to things, but yeah, maybe having a board, having colleagues helps provide that kind of focus. What is maybe the hardest thing about running, I guess, both creating and running these programs in a place that is so different and also so far away from your normal residence?
Well, WhatsApp helps a great deal, because I can communicate freely and often, even though we're 11 hours off. Have easy communication. That's been a real helper, and they have phones, and if somebody doesn't have a phone, we can get them a phone, but for the most part, they have phones, and so we can communicate easily. We can see each other to talk. That would be very difficult without that piece of technology. So the other thing that really helps, that we didn't have in the beginning, is mobile money transfers. We can get, like, for the teachers at our school, at the end of the month, we'll get the attendance for the teachers, because we've got an incentive program for attendance. They're very prompt at giving their attendance, and by the next day they'll have money on their phones. So we don't have to deal with a big infrastructure of sending a wire to a bank, sending it to someone's account, having somebody get it, maybe maybe, there could be funds lost along the way. So I would have to say the technology of the WhatsApp and the mobile money is really is a huge benefit to be able to provide timely success and get feedback promptly, get pictures back immediately when they're, when our in-country leads are out doing education or delivering, washable menstrual kits or teaching a class, building a new project. We see the pictures right away. So this is really huge. And I think without those pieces, it would be quite difficult. It would be quite difficult. But I feel like, we're really pretty hands-on. I meet with my main leads on a WhatsApp, a 90-minute call weekly. We're in good contact that way. I talk with them more than I talk with our board. So we have good communication.
Many of us who are in the US or in the developed world have some yearnings to be able to help more than just make donations to causes. Mm-hmm. Any advice, Loree, on how the rest of us can just make a difference?
One great opportunity that we have is to travel. And I guess I'd say if you're just kind of branching out, if you're, interested is just get local with people and let your don't be shy about your curiosity. If you're talking with in a local community with someone, like if you're getting groceries, or even if you've got a car and you're putting gas in your gas tank, or you're with a driver, just to ask questions about their family. Everybody's family is always first. That's a good way to get to know people. And through that, you learn what challenges they might be having. Are their kids going to school? What are they interested in? What did that person, what do they like to eat? What are the favorite foods? What are the things that you can't jump in saying, gosh, what are you worried about? But I think just to peel back the layers of this being one-on-one with people is a great way to start, and maybe venture outside the safety of the resort or the tour that you're on is great. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of tourists in Tanzania. Tourism is one of the main things, but people that are there, often they climb Kilimanjaro, they go on safari, they might on their trip be taken through a school that the kids stand up and sing a song or something, but they don't really have the opportunity to deep dive. But if you're someplace, you could take a day before or a couple days after, and wherever you're at, talk with the people that are cleaning your rooms, and just make friends. Go ask them, do you need these shoes? I wore them. I ran on them. They're dirty, but maybe someone and that needs the shoes, and and maybe I could deliver them, and I could see who gets to wear the shoes. That's a great way to meet someone and to go into a home and kind of break the ice if the ice needs to be broken about how do I expand my comfort zone a little bit about this. And then there are, a lot of volunteer opportunities out there. And I've been so busy with my own, I guess I don't really have a big calendar of places that are super accessible. But one place to start is if you know a foreign language, if you're already, somewhat literate, even for just, but you know what, if you're not, I've gone to many countries, like Mongolia. I did not know anything, or Maasai. I cannot speak any Maasai, but you can learn so much from facial expressions, and you don't really have to have language. You can get by quite easily with just, a nice smile and a kind gesture. So you don't have to feel like you need to know the language.
100% agreed. And just going back to tech for a second, most of us have our phones with us, which work everywhere, and you can use any of these apps to get messages exchanged. No issues there.
Yeah.
Loree, if people listening, people will be more curious about health and hope. Are there opportunities within your organization for listeners to maybe volunteer, but at the minimum, maybe contribute to, like, how can listeners of the show be of help with the work you're doing?
Well, we take a team to Tanzania generally every year. This year I did not. Is the first year in forever that I haven't taken a team, and the reason was I did an Ironman in November, and I'm doing one in October. And if I'm going to, I can't be gone. That's one thing. Challenges of getting older. I can't be gone from training that long and ask my body to do certain things. It's just a reality. So I went to Tanzania this year without a team, but typically we take a team annually in the late spring, early summer. So that's an opportunity to go with us. You don't have to be a healthcare provider. It does help, but we are not hospital based. So that's, we work out of a box, basically. So we find a place. So there aren't any there's no big machines. Let's put it that way. There's no, X-ray machine or, MRIs or any of that kind of thing. I think through Health and Hope financially, we have a website, Health and Hope Foundation, that is easy to find, and the programs are there, and there's a donate page. So that's an option that people have to help us. But I just would encourage anyone, if you're on the edge of thinking about volunteering, gosh, just give it a go. I know, because I've taken many volunteers, and many people come back, repeat volunteers with Health and Hope Foundation, but lots of times it's a one-time thing, or it's a big trip. It's a big trip, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks to go there and see a little bit of something, but it is total cultural immersion to be on these trips. So you do have to be able to square away that you can do like 2 weeks time. So time and curiosity is all that's really needed. And nobody expects anybody to be perfect at anything, just to care about other people and to want to be curious enough to make the world, a better place. I don't think I can't, never, ever in all my trips anywhere have I ever been with a volunteer that was not, this wasn't a life-changing experience for them at all. I mean, I remember the earthquake in Haiti, everything was broken down. They'd taken me around to try to find a place to put up the clinic. And we finally ended up in this church that it had maybe one wall. The rest was just rubble. And we had our dental chairs are like lawn chairs. And I looked over at one of the chairs, and I'm going, oh my gosh, here's this guy dental assisting. He was a nuclear engineer, and he's, dental assisting chairside with one of the community members, with one of our dentists providing. And I'm just thinking, that is one of my favorite pictures to this day, of seeing this picture of rubble in the background, the dust of Haiti, the people waiting, and this lovely man who was also taking a break from chemo to come and do this. Yeah. So that to me just was like outside the box, freaking amazing. You don't have to know what the deal is. You learn to tie your shoes. You can learn to do a new thing. It's okay. Nobody expects, just if you show up, you show up.
That is powerful. No,
Yeah.
that is powerful. And that is a vivid image that you've painted for us.
Mm.
And yeah, one does not need elaborate skills. I mean, like, one doesn't even need to go to school for dentistry to be
No.
able to just help, because the needs are vast, and there's always space for somebody to help. Just so people can find the website easily, and we will put link on the show notes. What's the Health and Hope's website one more time?
Health
Loree?
and Hope Foundation.
Perfect. healthandhopefoundation.org.
Yes.
And I'm sure if you search for it, it will bring up
It'll come up. Yeah.
It will come
Yes.
right up. Loree, obviously you have dedicated the last decade and also a lot of time before that in making this difference. And I'm sure there's been a lot of sacrifice. Yeah, just not just from you, but maybe from others around you, maybe from your family to allow you to do this. I'm curious, what has all this work brought back to you? What difference has it made to your life and to you as you continue to get older, post-retirement from being an active dentist?
I believe I am living my best life. I have no question that I am not. And I think that is, I'm proud of that. It makes me happy. I know that my life makes other people's lives easier. That is just oceans of magnitude flowing goodness back to me. I feel very complete.
I can see that. And at a time when many of us reach that point in our middle life, and I think people start looking for purpose. I guess, that term midlife crisis hits us. Here's one way to turn this on its head.
Mm.
And it sounds like one finds this kind of work beyond us. It takes us away from, like, let's say, trivial things we are dealing with in our own little lives.
It does that. It does that. Yeah. I, like, for example, the other day I was doing something and I can't even remember now what it was, but I was having a challenge with it. I got a call from a WhatsApp call, and they said, the women the Maasai women that are doing the food business, they're just starting their food business, are doing great, but they wish they could work more. And I said, well, are they not? Because we've got free transportation for them to get to the marketplaces to provide their services. And I said, well, so what's the stopper? The stopper, they have to spend all day going out to collect firewood so that they can cook. So, it just makes me go like, I have no problems. I mean, I might think my day is squashed, but I don't have to go farther and farther each day to get my firewood. So, to turn that around, we're going to be getting these 30 ladies a propane burners, and then with their income, with their savings, they'll be able to get gas refills. But I hadn't thought of that. Now, yes, they've got a job. Yes, they've got a possibility to earn a little bit of money, but they can't go to work because they've got to get firewood. These things keep coming up in my life that keep me grounded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not only do they have to collect firewood or maybe collect water, but
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they can't even do it safely because
No, they can't.
because there is violence around them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it certainly allows us to at least think back about the privileges we have.
Yeah.
And here's a fun question, Loree. You've been, we haven't yet gone into your journey as an athlete, but you obviously take your training seriously, and you have to. Doing Ironmans, it's just multidiscipline. You have to always have your training be adhered to, and maybe earlier in your work, you were likely traveling more. How were you able to continue training while you were in distant places without access to your regular facilities?
That's a really good question, and it's really hard, and that's a challenge. No place has a swimming pool that we travel to. That's out. And many places are not safe for open water swimming, either because of contamination in the water, or just nobody's thinking anybody's going to be out there swimming. No one would know to look for a swimmer. Biking, you have to have a bike. Typically on the trips that we take, I run in the morning, and usually we've got other people that are either walkers or runners, and that's kind of the mode. Is somebody might get up and do some yoga, and then I typically will go for a run. Others will come with me, and we've had one trip. We had 4 Ironman athletes on the trip, So that was awesome. We had a built-in running group. That doesn't always happen, but I've got a number of friends that are in athletics that do come on our trips. So that makes it nice for me. Otherwise, I just go out running and, meet people along the way. And, it's really fun. I go out running and it would be with kids walking to school, and I get them in a line all together. And even though I don't even know their language, they pick up really quick. And I run in front and I clap, and then I go to the back and they go in front. So we do running games on the way to school. So I get to see where they're going to school. Sometimes I go in and meet their teacher, kind of take a break in my run, find out what the teacher needs. One time it was a first aid kit, so I ran back the next day with a first aid kit. So the running is easy. Running is not a problem. Other events are a problem. Strength training, I take a little mini gym with stretch bands and stuff, and do body weight exercises, so I keep my strength up. But it is really hard because you can't. So that's kind of messes you up on that score. That
Sure. Yeah, and you're not even going to like the cities so much in a place like Tanzania. You are in these backwater places where I guess you have to maybe periodize your training a little bit to be able to.
Well, the other thing is you're not in places where you can run where it may be really warm, but I mean it's not culturally appropriate to wear running gear, right? So you got to have tights covering your knees and a top covering your shoulders at least, because like Tanzania is half Muslim, half Christian. So I try always to be culturally appropriate. So that, that's another.
Wow.
Because if you're meeting people along the way, you can't go with short shorts and expect the community to welcome you with open arms, even though it's, 90 degrees and humid.
Yes. Tanzania in July. I can only imagine. I guess. Once the sun is up on the horizon,
it's on the equator. You're right on the equator.
You have to shift. And this is one question I didn't want to ask you about some of these cultural barriers and gender barriers that you likely have to continue to overcome. Like you talked about earlier, how you go to those places and, there is so much, let's say, systemic patriarchy. You just have the men come forward to come and try to get medical care because maybe they feel more entitled, and the women have a much harder time being coming forward. So how did you maybe overcome some of these things? And to be honest, I feel it's not just in Tanzania, like even in the US.
No. Oh yeah, no, it's I can attest to this worldwide. So I guess in some part, that's where I can throw out the doctor card. They know me as Dr. Loree. So that's my name. That does open doors and with men. And I'm not shy. One of the hardest things in my role is getting things through customs in various countries, because that can just be very challenging on a number of levels. So I've developed a mindset when I go into places that are super patriarchal, where it is totally, there is a legal right that a customs official has in any country to bar you from bringing any of your stuff in. And in a clinic situation, we'll have tubs, and I bring our whole pharmacy, because we can never be sure we can get medications that we need there in the time that we need them. So I bring our whole pharmacy to treat everything from STD to worms to, bacterial infections and viral infections, everything. We have everything. So to bring the pharmacies in and to bring in our equipment that looks weird to them, because we've got remote battery operated dental equipment to be able to do a surgery, our things look weird. And I get that. And so the customs officials, the head honcho always comes when I'm bringing in all the stuff. And so what I've done for me is I'm first name basis in Tanzania with the head of we have FDA, they have a TFDA. So I'm friends with the head of that. And then I know I've cell phone contact with the head of the customs and the TFDA at Kilimanjaro Airport and the other airports that we go into. So they expect me to be kind of hardcore. I'm not a hardcore person, but I can put on the hardcore hat when I need to. And we just jockey it back and forth. We negotiate. And in the end, we both feel like we won. That's the goal. That's my goal. I won and they feel like they won. But so that's the doctor part helps in a bit. Consistency helps because you see the same people coming in. If you're going into the same country, you see some of the same people. So the relationships help. And then the other part that's huge is I work with our in-country leaders, are strong leaders in their community. They happen to be male. It wouldn't bother me if they were female, but they happen to be male. And they've risen to the cream of my crop because they stand up for people. They don't try to negotiate anything that isn't for the better of the community. So they have in-country, in society credibility, and I'm their friend. So I get a pass through them.
I would think that the years of consistency that you have had in helping, I would have thought that it would have opened doors for you, like they would be welcoming you with like open arms.
No, it's because policies change, and I can address. I'll only address Tanzania because I can speak to you with a great deal of depth, and I would assume some other countries may be similar, maybe not. But for the last 10 years, our volunteers here have been making washable menstrual kits that we've been delivering to the girls so that because they don't have money to afford disposable supplies, and that keeps them from going to school. So we've been doing this for 10 years. This June, when I came to Tanzania with my kits, which I bring every year, I was going, oh my gosh, this is going to be so easy. No equipment, no pharmacy. I'm going to fly through customs. I'm going to tell my driver, I'll be out in 30 minutes. No, I was out 3.5 hours later because all of a sudden, washable feminine hygiene kits, menstrual kits, are considered a medical device. All of a sudden, I'm supposed to have a permit for each and every one of the 680 medical devices I was now bringing in. Or I had to pay a fee to bring them in. There was a fee. So there's always something. And I bring this back to maybe it doesn't seem related, but it is totally related to sport. You have to be in this line of work of humanitarian delivery. Something's going to come up, just like in a race. Something comes up that you didn't expect. You just know it's going to come up, and you just negotiate around it and make the best of it and scoot on through. You'll get through it. It's always something. But the medical devices this year was kind of a topper in my career. Of all the surprises I was expecting, that was the one I thought was going to be my easy one. No problem with a problem. There's
Wow.
always something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, absolutely. No, that's crazy that like the challenge begins for these trips. I mean, you think you've arrived safely at your destination with like all your supplies, and
Yeah,
just
you
to
count them and they're there. You haven't made it yet.
Loree, shifting gears a little bit, love to talk a little bit about your life as an athlete.
Yeah.
And from what I can gather, you have focused on triathlons for a long time and you've excelled at them. Can you speak a little bit more about what your calling has been and how did you end up focusing on these types of events which combine running, swimming, and cycling, and that's become your focus?
Yeah. Well, I started out, basically, I was a runner for a long time. I started, more than 50 years ago doing marathons, and I've done a lot of marathons. I don't even know how many. 35 or 40 probably. And I love adventure travel. So I've kind of grown into triathlon. I was a runner first and did a marathon in every continent, which was one of my lovely ways to see the world by foot. So I went, to Antarctica, Kenya, Myanmar, Athens, Greece. I did every single seven of them. The one in the US, I'm counting, I did a lot, but I'm just counting Boston's for those. That was a great way to see the world and do running. When I got to be about, I don't know, 45 or 50, I developed osteoarthritis in my knees. Not necessarily from running. I want to point that out. That just kind of is a familial trait. But I've negotiated around that. I've found great ways to negotiate around that through strength training and PT and watching my weight and PRP injections and a lot of different modalities in that realm. But I was very intrigued about triathlon because I was a swimmer as a kid. I loved to ride my bike, but had never really competed in biking or swimming. But I started out and did a half iron for my first one and just loved it. I just had a blast. Looked at these people that were doing Ironman and thought, oh, that's like, I can't even get my head wrapped around it. I can't even imagine that. And went to watch one and I was just intrigued by the challenge. And so I started doing triathlon. I was 50 when I did my first triathlon. So I started late. I'm a late bloomer, but I did that. I guess I'm oriented on birthdays because I did that for my 50th birthday party. That was my first Ironman was that. And then I have done, I think I've done 11 now, but gotten to see the world again by swimming, biking, and running. But I like all the sports. I've gone on open water swim trips to the Galapagos. That was beautiful. At an island in the Philippines. I've also been Hawaii a lot. I just really like open water for swimming. I like that. I'm learning to love the pool, but I really like open water swimming. And I'd been on bike trips with friends to Croatia and France and different places, seeing the world by bike. So I thought, this kind of puts it all together, and it gave me structure to my other things I was doing. So that's how I got into Ironman. And this one, I thought I was done when I was about 5 years ago. I thought I was probably done because my knees were not very happy. But then I thought, I really have fun doing them. I'm not doing them. I have fun doing them, but it's like peeling the layers of an onion off to go through every stage, because you start at sunrise and you end, for me, at sunset. I'm like my very best time is like 13:20 or something, and my normal time these days is more like 15:20. So I'm not fast. I'm out there all day. It takes an all day thing. So but I thought, I think for my 70th birthday, I want to just get one more in. So I did one on my birthday this year and I won. So back to Hawaii. So this would be my third time to Hawaii. But I'm really excited. It's going to be the last all-women's field. I love racing in Kona, just the feeling of the islands. I love. The course is really challenging. I've been focused on that for the last few months. But I love all kinds of sports.
Yeah, but I think there is some mystique about the Ironman. There's some allure about it, which I think draws people. I mean, it seems so daunting as an event. Could you, maybe for those of us who don't understand the Ironman completely, what is an Ironman?
So an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim. It could be wetsuit or non-wetsuit, depends on the water temperature. If it's, I'm not sure, I think it's 72 degrees, you can't wear it, or higher, you can't wear a wetsuit. I might be wrong about that one, audience. So 2.4 miles of swimming, and then a 112 mile bike, and then a 26.2 mile run. So, and it's all done in one go. Your timing between events counts. And to finish, you have to complete in 17 hours or under. If you come in 17 hours and 1 second, you didn't finish. Well, you finished, but you don't get the medal. So it is daunting. And nutrition is a huge part of that event. And endurance training leading up to it and keeping your body in good working order through all the training is a real challenge. And, I have to say, it's challenging as an older woman because you've got the aging thing, plus you've got the menopause thing and physiological changes that happen around your 50s. And that period of life is just when I began this trek. So you really have to pay attention. And I guess can't overemphasize strength training for women, especially to keep their bodies in. Our physiology doesn't want us to get stronger, so you have to really keep reminding it to continue to maintain and build muscle mass.
The idea of doing all of those events back to back,
yeah,
and doing that, to be honest, at a time when most people at the age of 70 are, I guess, satisfied with being able to go for a long walk and being able to just complete their daily activities without hindrance, without pain. Do you have a group of people, Loree, your age? Like, is there like just this superhuman group of athletes that you train with, or how are you?
No, there isn't. I think I did have a super group. A lot of people have gotten injuries through the years. So my peer group, I don't have any peers. I do most of my training is by myself for this goal. I ride my bike with my husband. I have a running friend who, by the way, is 80. So she's not running at the moment, but we've run lots of miles together. And a gentleman that I ran with for years and years and years is going to be having his 75th or 76th birthday coming up, and he's back to just golfing now. But I've spent many, 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 many hours running with him. But I don't have a group, and so that's I have my friends in the pool lanes that I chit chat with. But in a way, it's almost I might be misleading myself because I love training with people. It just, with my schedule, it doesn't work out that well to connect with others for the same thing, for the same race, to get your training times lined up. But in one way, the solo time is great because the event itself is on your own. So it's not like I've spent all these hours distracted by other conversation or other issues or drafting behind someone or doing any of those kinds of things. It's all been individual effort with my training. And so what I'm saying to myself for this one, that's okay. You're training your brain and you're getting a lot of good thinking in, Loree. So just suck it up. Enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. And I mean, working out with people makes things usually more enjoyable. If nothing else, there's that peer pressure that you have to get your ass out of bed and be at the pool or on the trail at 5 a.m. because somebody out there is waiting for you. But on the flip side, when you're doing a triathlon, I think ultimately you're kind of competing with yourself, maybe trying to be the best version of yourself. So maybe working out by yourself does have that advantage because you have to be competing with yourself when you're at the actual event. Just to get an idea of, just how one prepares for these kinds of like Herculean-like distances in one for an Ironman. Can you paint us a picture of, let's say, one training week that you had leading up to the Ironman this year that you completed?
Oh yeah. So I'm coached. I did a USA Triathlon level 1 coaching certification, which taught me enough that I can't coach myself. I have a really good coach. I coach with Endure IQ. And I guess if I have a training partner, it's that. I've got a coach that gives me workouts. I get them on Training Peaks, and I know what my workout's going to be for at least a week in advance. And it's like you said, showing up for somebody at the trailhead, I I have to make my training box go green. When I download my workout, it changes color. And if I look at my back on my day, if it's like Wednesday and I look back and there's like something that's still yellow, it's like, oops, let's go for the greens. I don't like to see yellow. That means you didn't do it, or you did less of it or something. Mine are greens, so I'm not sure if they're yellow or red. But so it's not the power of two, like meeting a friend at the trailhead, but I do have some daily feedback of how to measure myself. And I do 3 swims a week. I do, depending, 4 to 5 bikes, say 4, and then I do for sure 3 runs a week, 3 or 4, and they're different distances. So I'll usually have one longer swim. Like now it's about 4,000 yards for the longer swim, and 2 shorter ones that are about 2,700 or something like that. And my long bike is right now a hilly 4-hour bike with a runoff for about half an hour. So runoff means you run off the bike. You practice that because it's I don't know what that feeling is, but it feels like your legs are stuck in mud to start running right after you get off the bike. It's the weirdest sensation. So it's good to practice that piece. After about 20 minutes, your legs kind of warm up and you can get back at it. Well, as much as is possible in that moment in time. And my coach has been very cognizant of my knees in all my trainings, because the osteoarthritis is really kind of the pits. You can't do much about it. It's not like you can get, other than knee replacements. And I don't want to do that because I want to keep running. And I'm really, actually, knock on wood, I'm not having any knee pain right now. And I'm well into my training for this event. So I'm hopeful that that's happening. The other thing that I do is I do strength coach train with a coach twice a week. And I've been doing that for 20 years. So that keeps me ready to go for most things, whether it's, river rafting or kayaking or triathlon. For example, last week it was 17 hours. This week it's 20. But I'm in my build up to an event. It's not always that many hours. About 11 to 12 is kind of the sweet spot to maintain.
That is kind of like a full-time job. So
it is.
Retirement is I don't know. I feel it's an outdated term. One just moves from like one vocation to the other, and you have like these you have like multiple things that you're doing. Here's something funny that I was thinking. Like, I'm 47 now, and I think I'm getting to the point where I think soon I will probably start needing like more physical exams and whatnot. And you're 70, and I'm guessing you are visiting like your physician maybe for your annual or biannual or whatnot checkup. I mean, you're a doctor yourself. Yeah, I'm just wondering like how maybe there's a moment of like levity when they talk about like, are you doing your minimum amount of physical activity? Or I mean, they're looking at your blood markers like, I'm just.
I know. So now that I have Social Security, you have to go in for your annual exam, and there's a intake on there, and it has all these questions like, have you fallen? And I'm thinking, well, I just fell on my bike. What they mean, have you fallen in your house? The question is, have you fallen?
Have you fallen?
Can
yes,
you do stairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always fall, but I mean, it's because I trip trail running or something. But can you do stairs? It's basic questions that they're asking, and it's just like it keeps you cognizant that you're really fortunate to have your body take the ride with you, because other people, my peers, don't answer differently to some of these very basic questions. and they have to be on there. It happens, and that's how you keep track. I'm, also the age where you do the mental test to screen for Alzheimer's. You have to.
Yeah.
You haven't probably had that yet. it's funny when you turn that page and it's just like, oh my goodness. Let's see. It's a surprise because I still feel like I'm 16. So.
No, that's incredible. I do feel like maybe they set the bar kind of low as well, like in general in this country.
Oh, they have to capture everybody. Yeah.
You are doing. I'm guessing that people, not just your age but my age as well, like they can't even comprehend the work that it takes and the effort that it takes. But then even for you, like how many have you done so far?
Of Ironman?
Yeah.
I've done it. I've finished 11.
You've finished 11 Ironman events. Just finishing one is a lifetime achievement. And I'd love for you to take us maybe to this event for a second this year that you completed after your 70th. And you train hard, you are planned, you have all the experience, but I'm guessing it still is a difficult event. Was there a moment, a point during the event where you felt like you would give up just because it became that difficult, but you found the strength somewhere to persevere?
It doesn't matter if I've done one or if I've done 10. Ironman is terrifying to think of. Even though you've done it and you've done it multiple times, it doesn't change the angst that you feel, because no one ever knows how they're going to feel on that day. You never know what will come up, because something always comes up that you need to deal with it. You just don't. It's always a surprise. How I get around it is visualization of a race helps me just to walk through things. That helps a great deal. But even with all the things you can do to prepare and train, and people say, you can do this, and you say to yourself, I can do this. Still, race morning, I just want to I'd rather go in front of a firing squad. Seriously, I get that anxious, and I just really have to breathe and be by myself and maybe encourage somebody else. But I'm not a chatter talker. I'm more of a keep to myself type person. So I don't go out of my way to talk to people. I try to find a quiet place and just get myself ready for the morning and plan everything out, and my nutrition and just my mindset. Once the gun goes off, all that goes away. Then you're just in the moment, and you're totally immersed in the activity. I do have that peace of mind of knowing that even though I would like to be in front of a firing squad now, in 3 minutes, I'll be fine. I won't want the firing squad. So
the anticipation is almost worse than the...
Oh, it is totally. Once that's over, it's just like, hallelujah, let's get the party started. Coming Kona, it's a very challenging course for the heat, the humidity. Those things are challenging. The bike ride is really tough because you got headwinds and crosswinds, so bike handling is challenging. There's a hill going up to the town of Hawi. It's like 15 miles of riding, and it's a hill. It's serious. It's a little bit rolly. I think I've counted them. I count 4 to 5 hills, depending on what you count. But so you get a little bit of a breather. It's not one long incline. It's some rollers, but they're significant. And then coming down, although you think, 15 miles down, that's great, there's crosswinds. So bike handling is a challenge. Just being in the saddle that long is my challenge. 112 miles for me, as I wasn't a biker first. I was a biker last. That's something. And I'm always very cognizant about my knees. The last Ironman I did, I thought I was just doing awesome. And then the first part of the run was on reinforced concrete. And I took about 20 steps and my knees were just, I was done. And I ended up race walking the entire marathon. I tried to run when I could and to give it a go, and I couldn't. So I allowed myself that I could not walk slower than 14.5-minute miles, which is a pretty good clip for a walk. Very slow for a run, but I was able to maintain it. And that was a moment where I was just going, why am I doing this? But there were only 2 other women in my age group at that race, and I was ahead of them. I didn't know anywhere they were, but I knew they weren't in front of me. It turns out they didn't finish, but I didn't know that. That gave me that competitive spirit. Just, keep on motoring. If they come up behind you, then just don't let them go. You won't let them go. That was kind of I wasn't expecting my knees to hurt that bad. So that was, that's not something you can fix like a flat tire. So that was a challenge. So I guess I always had that kind of noodling in the back of my mind. I don't know what my knees will do, but I compete against myself, do my best job,
Sure.
just be out there, do my best job.
Loree, you obviously have some gifts, but you've also honed them over the years. You've put in like these decades of hard work on the pool and the track and the trail, and looks like you've had your share of injuries
Mhm.
and what some people might say just career-ending events, like talked about your knees. So yeah, I think many of us get injured, right? And we're like, okay, this is
Mhm.
the end of our running or our climbing careers. But you've kind of found ways around it. Maybe about your knees,
Yeah.
I guess osteoarthritis is real, and as we get older,
Yeah.
we get affected by these things, and people tell us to shift our activities, go
Yeah.
cycling instead.
I
But
can't tell you how many. Yeah.
continued on, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been told by physicians that you won't run again. I mean, way too many to count. My goodness, I was climbing. It goes back to the injuries. They add up over a life of adventure sport. So I've had 2 serious bike crashes where I totally separated my shoulder. So I don't have ligaments in my shoulder. So the whole thing of swimming and powering through, I had to really work on my muscular strength to regain that. I crashed my face, broke my orbit of my eye. I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and the day before summit, I just stepped down this little step, rolled my ankle, and broke all 3 bones in my ankle. Compound fracture. Yeah. So, and I was by myself in Tanzania. Well, not by myself. I was with guides. So I did have to rehab from that, which was very significant because I got a big plate in my ankle, like 9 inches, and all these screws and stuff. But great story though, because when I was coming down, you have to keep things in perspective. The guys took me down piggyback. So I was doing a plank, with my elbows on their shoulders and my hips were under on the hips. I taped my foot up with a table knife and put my hiking boot back on because I was really trying to fake them that I could still summit because I didn't want to get that far and not, but there was no way around it. So they carried me down piggyback, and they weren't on the trail. They bushwhacked down. So they were sliding. And so I was on their hips taken down. And then I'd say,
Wow.
you guys rest. Cause they were kind of, like 4 of them were cycling through carrying me. And I said, you rest. And they'd go, this is like endurance. They go, rest easy, mama, rest easy. You're good. And they had testosterone going. So each one wanted to carry me farther than the next. So they carried me down to a trail stretcher. And then I still had my flashlight. So one of them ran like 10 miles longer with a flashlight in his mouth through the trees to get me to a ambulance. But, I think back on things like that. I may be running now and it may be long in my day, but I am not carrying a woman on my back bushwhacking, sliding through
Right.
rubble down Kilimanjaro with this tourist clinging, telling me to stop. They didn't stop. Why would I stop? So it's just these things just kind of come into your mind, these events that occur that make you go, wow, if I can do this, if they could do that, I got this. You just have to roll back to those memories, and we all have them. They just, it's funny whether you hide them sometimes from yourself, and then they just pop up when you're like least expecting it and most need it. But it's a daunting event, but it's a good one.
That made me think back. That made me smile, and that made me think back to some of my early years doing some mountaineering in the Himalayas,
Hmm.
and even while just hiking, maybe after a long day, like you're struggling with like your backpack trying to go up this trail, and you get passed by a couple of honestly grandmas
Yeah,
carrying like I don't know, carrying what looks like 100 pounds, and these
strapped on.
baskets strapped
Yeah,
around their
yeah,
neck,
yeah,
and wearing these ratty flip flops,
yeah,
and that really does put things in perspective.
yeah, yeah.
We are doing
Exactly.
these things for fun,
Yeah,
and and
they're carrying stuff for the family. Yeah.
amazing. Lori, you've been competing and traveling for a long time. Any general words on how you keep yourself just strong and healthy and excited to keep doing hard things?
Hmm. I always have like a thing ahead that I want to do. I have lots of things on my to-do list that I want to do. I kind of ponder about what I want to do and where I want to do them. So I always kind of have some things on my calendar that I'm kind of noodling around that are interesting to me. And I am very open to letting people know that I do something different. Like I love whitewater rafting. So I was invited to be on a private trip, and we had a 2-woman raft boat for 3 weeks down the Colorado. Love to do more things like that still require a lot of endurance because you're rowing. Well, the last time I did it, I was stronger with my back, so I could row backwards, but you should row forward to row into a rapid. I would like, that's one of my things. I would like to do that again, and be able to have more confidence and strength to be able to row forward rather than have to spin and take a rapid backwards. I just kind of things like that, and that means I have to keep strength training, and I have to keep core fitness. And it doesn't always have to be swim, bike, run. I'm open to do, other activities that are great scenes. So, and I love the Himalaya. I did the Himalaya 100, which is a 5-day stage race. Yeah, and amazing opportunity to see the 4 of the 5 major peaks, and I'd like to do some trekking up that direction as well. There's just so many things to see that don't involve racing per se, but just are intriguing physical things that I am thinking of doing.
Goals and trips are so important, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
sometimes because if we just vaguely try to, nobody would put in like 20 hours of training a week. Like you can't get people to do
No,
that.
no,
But the moment you attach like some adventure in front of that, like it just seems to simplify things and it makes sense.
exactly.
Lori, in some way, that is also a hack, I think, to staying fit is to find a goal, and
Yeah.
that allows us to stay focused. Any other maybe just things you've learned over time? Any tactics with, let's say, again, with either with your mindset or
Mm.
exercise, or maybe even nutrition, on things that have helped you and maybe stop doing things that were not helping you?
Right. Well, my nutrition is I've been pretty much vegetarian since I've been 17. I was a real ahead of the curve. It's been over 50 years since I've had red meat, and that was by force by my parents. We need a plate. Children in China are hungry. So I have basically plant-based, but what I have changed is I'm doing less carbohydrates now and more healthy fats. So I am shifting that. I was having very challenging issues with GI distress in my runs. And I have not now, I've stopped taking much glucose fructose at all. I mean, at all. And my GI distress is gone. So that's one major thing in my training fields. I've changed my training fields around. My diet, I struggle to get protein in. So I do protein powder mixed in with things. And I look to try to get a protein in each, like whether it's peanut butter or yogurt or tofu, or I eat fish. I do eat fish and I eat eggs. So I'm not complete vegetarian, but it is, protein is a challenge for me. And I forget to eat. I totally can get going on something, get involved to a project, and my husband will say, "Have you eaten?" Oh, I forgot again. So that's not good. But so that's about my diet and nutrition. Something always happens where, nutrition falls apart during a race at some point. And I know that, but I feel like I've had enough go wrong that I can deal with it. I don't worry about it. It's just one of those facts of life in racing and training sometimes too. I don't know, see my life. I don't know. I just kind of stay on course and take one step in front of the other. I'm big on mantras. My favorite mantra to myself is continually repeat: strength, power, focus, go. And then sometimes I vary it up: strength, power, focus, go. Strength, power, focus, go. I keep doing that. I have another one that is smooth as, because it goes really good with bike cycling. Smooth as silk, tough as nails. Smooth as silk, tough as nails. So that reminds me of my form and to maintain strong, stay arrow. And then, different things that come up sometimes that you just want to continually say to yourself. So mantras, I'm a fan of mantras.
Loree, I love everything you said. In particular, the part about your diet. My diet is similar to yours. I'm mostly vegan with eggs and some seafood.
Mhm.
And yes, it sometimes feels like one is fighting an uphill battle,
Yeah.
because most people around us are consuming meat products. So it is absolutely, just great to hear that you are able to do all the amazing things you do,
Yeah.
and maybe even thrive. Maybe even thrive because of maybe just the type of diet that you have found for yourself. I know we are almost at time. Just a couple of final questions, if you can stay on.
I can.
I like to call it the ageless question, ageless section
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Yeah.
So, do you think your best years are ahead of you or behind you?
I've always thought my best year was where I'm at. I would have, no, I mean, for now, I love being a grandmother. It's just amazing. Last year, this time, I was not a grandmother. This year,
Wow.
I'm a grandmother. Yeah. And so things just kind of keep getting better. We never know the future. I think because I don't imagine doing what I'm doing in a decade's time, what I did a decade ago, but I imagine doing something really incredible, some, really long, interesting walks, different across the planet, to see other places I haven't seen, that I haven't had time to do before because I was training. It opens the opportunity for all kinds of places to go swimming, all kinds of places to go trekking that haven't fit in with the swim, bike, run rigor, because there is a rigor to that. And really seriously, you lose 2 weeks, you've really lost a lot. And that'll be kind of a relief not to have that angst about losing fitness. So that's my future. So I think that's a good thing. And the history was a good thing. And I love today.
Beautiful. What might be one habit, even if it seems mundane, that you practice every day that gives you disproportionate joy?
Disproportionate. Let's see. Things I practice every day. I think it's small things to know that, like, I make my bed every day. I get up, I make my bed. I don't leave my clothes on the floor in my closet. I read somewhere that if you can get something done in a minute, just do it. So I put my clothes away right away. Same with laundry. But disproportionate joy, I think seeing my family grow up, seeing my granddaughter grow up gives me disproportionate joy. I look forward to being able to enrich those lives in a special way. As a grandmother, I have a different relationship with my son now that he's a father. I love watching him father. It's just, that's my joy when I look at my little picture of my granddaughter. That is just proportionate joy to me right now. And, this thing about fitness, there's no way I'm not going to go, downhill skiing with her, or go out water skiing, or, hang out with her on the water. I want to be fit to be able to do all those things, so that when she's 10, I'll be 80 and I still want to do all that stuff. I'm prepping for my next gig.
Love it. Love it. Yes. And then finally, if there was a billboard on the side of a highway, a major highway in Seattle, and you could write anything you wanted for the world to see, what do you think it would say?
Be here now.
Be here now. Perfect. Perfect. That's it, folks. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Ageless Athlete Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this show just as much as I enjoyed creating and producing it. Whether you are an athlete looking to push your limits or someone striving to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle as you age, there is always something new to learn. From Ageless Athlete, we bring you a fresh episode each and every week. If you liked what you heard, we would love it if you would take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an update. And if you really liked what you heard, please leave us a review, crush those 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. It helps us reach more people who are passionate about staying strong and resilient, no matter their age. Don't forget to visit our website and leave your email so I can send you occasional insights, stories, and tips to keep you inspired and motivated on your journey. You can also follow us on Instagram at Ageless Athlete Podcast and on YouTube at Ageless Athlete Podcast as well for even more great content. All of these links are available on the show notes for this episode. This show is entirely produced by me, Kush Khandelwal, based out of California with the help of my trusted adventure pup, Roger. Until next time, keep challenging yourself. Keep pushing those limits. Stay mentally and physically fit. Continue doing what you love to do. And my friends, stay ageless. Friends, this is not an ad. This is just a quick message to those amongst us who are listening to Ageless Athlete podcast for the first time. I would love it if you would hit subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher or Overcast or what have you. We bring you stories and routines and other inspiration from elites in the world of the best outdoor sports. In each episode, you will find how these athletes stay connected to the outdoors, maintain peak performance, and continue to thrive as they age. I encourage you to look through Brad episodes and listen to a couple and see if they resonate. And then, come back next week. We release an episode each week. And I am really inspired to bring you some of the best stories from the world of the outdoors. Okay, back to the show.